Hi guys, T-Bull here. Today we're going to be talking about the vision mechanics in World of Warships Legends. I probably think this is the most important topic to understand. It's also probably one of the more complex ones. So, seeing as this is part of the beginner series of videos, I'm going to try and give you enough information to understand it and be able to, you know, punish people who don't understand it that you're going against. Um, but the topic is so big that I'm not going to cover it all in this video. I might either in the future make like an intermediate level vision mechanics video, or probably just discuss it in individual replays that I post going forward. We'll just point stuff out. So stay tuned for either of those, but we'll start breaking it down. So here's an opening position on a map. Being able to read the map is a big part of utilizing the vision game. So I'm going to explain what we're looking at here. So you see I'm the white triangle there that's highlighted. And then I have two circles coming out of me. I got like a blue circle that's about a square and a half away, give or take. And then a white circle outside of that, which is roughly a square further out of that. The blue circle is the range that I'm detectable by other surface ships. So basically, not including air or anything like that. And I'm not going to be talking about consumables when I'm explaining these things. That's just going to add complexity to the topic, like radar or airplanes or anything like that. So we're just going to go over the basics. So the blue circle, as long as there's no red ship within that range, I can't be detected. All right, and the caveat is when I fire, but we'll talk about that here briefly. So the white circle, that's the maximum range of my weapon. All right, so both of those are very important for understanding the vision game. Now you also notice this grayish triangle that's emanating from my ship, or I guess it's like a cone shape. It's going northeast. I hope it's easy to see on the screen here. Ships that are detectable and within that cone, then they'll be visible on my screen. Alright, so like for instance, if an ally spots a ship that the enemy ship's outside of this range of this cone, this vision cone that I have, the enemy ship will appear on my map, but not on my screen to target. Okay, so if you or anyone on your team spots an enemy, that enemy's position will be visible on the map. That doesn't mean they're on the screen. All right, they have to be on the screen. They have to be within this grayish cone that's coming out of you, within the range of it. Okay. All right, now we're going to take a quick look at the effect of firing on this. So just keep an eye on the map to see what I'm talking about. First, I'll adjust I'll switch between torpedoes and my main gun so you can see the different sizes of the circles. Now when I fire, my blue detectable range will pulse to the size of the full white circle. So when you fire, you're detectable up to the range of your main cannon. Alright, now if you're not detected, it'll pulse back. If you are detected by an enemy player, then your blue circle will remain the size of your firing range for 20 seconds. All right, and I'll explain that a little bit more here in just a second. But if you're not detected, it pulses back down. If you are, it'll stay the size of the white circle for 20 seconds. And here I'm just showing, this is a battleship map, so I just wanted to show you what the circles. On the battleship, the blue circle will be much closer to the max range than the destroyer, which I'm mainly demonstrating in this video. Alright, so now this particular map is looking about 10 seconds forward in the future from the first map we were looking at when the video started. So this particular guy, the battleship, you can see I added his detectable range, the black circle. I know he should be centered within that circle. I'm not a Photoshop expert or whatever, but so I've barely crossed into that. Okay, so because he's within my vision cone, and we have a clear line of sight in between each other, now I can spot him. He's on my map. He's on everyone on my team's map. And because he's within my vision cone, he's appearing on my screen. And anyone on my team who he's within range of their own vision cones, he'll appear on their screen. If there's anyone on my team who is out of range with the vision cone, he'll be on their map but not their screen. All right. So the two key takeaways: clear line of sight, which is very important, and he's within my vision, and his detectable range, I've crossed into that. So now that's why he's appearing here. Alright, so this brief sequence we're going to evaluate a couple maps here. So if you notice, there was two cruisers off to the right behind that island that are not within my line of sight. Here we have a battleship. Notice he's outside of that white circle. I fired just to demonstrate. Normally you won't want to fire at a target that's outside of your weapons range. And then you'll notice as soon as I got fired, I was detected. Now, we'll evaluate that further. And then keep in mind, once I fired and I was detected, that blue circle pulsed to the size of the white circle and it never returned back down. Alright, in this first map, this is taken the second that I shot immediately and was detected. Okay, so to recap, we were sailing forward. The only person that we had a direct line of sight on that we could see was the battleship off in the distance. So look at the guys grouped around point D, as well as the guy near the red base. Now if you look on the map, none of them have a line of sight to me. They're all being obstructed by islands. So we can rule them out as the ships that detected me. You have to have a clear line of sight to detect the target. Now the two cruisers, I don't know if I said battleships earlier, two cruisers that are to the northeast of the island that I'm next to, that are grayed out, they did not detect me either. They did not have a line of sight either. And they're grayed out on the map because when you're grayed out, everyone on your team loses track of you. So they were detected, now they're not detected. So because they're not detected, not only do they not have a line of sight to me, they don't have a line of sight to anyone on our team. So we can rule them out as the persons who spotted me. And then looking back at the battleship, you might be thinking, oh, that must be the guy who spotted him because he had a clear line of sight at him, which he does, and which is true. But keep in mind he's outside of the white max firing range of my ship on the map there. So when I fire, my blue detectable range pulses to the size of that white max firing range circle. Since he's out of there, he did not detect me either. So what we're able to deduce by looking just at the snapshot of the map is there was a ship within my white circle who initially was not in my smaller detectable range before it pulsed, and I was not in his detectable range because he's clearly not spotted. So because I haven't sailed into his blue circle on his map, then I can't spot him yet, and he didn't spot me until I fired because he didn't sail into my blue detectable circle. But once that detectable circle expanded to the size of the white circle due to firing, then I was immediately detected. Alright, and then this next map was taken about 2 or 3 seconds after the map we were just looking at. So, just to recap, I was unspotted, I shot, and immediately became detected, and the previous map was in place where the white circle and the blue circle were overlapping. Now this one that we're looking at is about 2 seconds after that snapshot in time, where I sailed forward just a little bit, and now I've spotted the destroyer who spotted me, and then I've added his detectable range on our map just to take a look at it for illustration purposes. So sailing forward just a little bit, now I've crossed into his blue detectable circle on his map, and then he pops up. All right. I don't think he shot or anything. I think it was just a matter of me sailing forward and spotting him. And so now this is what happens after that. Now, you'll still notice my blue detectable circle continues to be pulsed outwards, but the only difference is due to me moving forward just a little bit, now he's spotted onto my screen. So that brief little sequence, I hope, gives us a couple snapshots that should hopefully give you a good illustration on how the viewing mechanics work. You can see on this one my cone, when you're zoomed in, when you're aimed in on your gun, it turns into this really small slice instead of a cone. And keep in mind these maps that we're looking at are zoomed in, so it's not like your cone extends to the edge of the map every time. And you'll see on the gameplay that we're about to evaluate here that's much smaller than that. Just a couple other things I do want to point out about vision. There's detection points on your ship, okay, and how that works is it's basically like where your commander would be if he was actually sitting in the ship. So I think is it the brig, the tower where all the brass sits or stands, probably, I don't know, but I think the game defines it as roughly like the tallest armored tower on your ship. The top of that is where your detection point is. So both ships' detection points, once they can see each other in a clear line of sight, that's when they spot each other. And then, like I mentioned in the fire and flooding video, the fire increases your detectability range, so the size of that blue circle, by 2 kilometers. Alright, and here we'll just evaluate this destroyer game, mainly focusing on the vision. Just to set the backdrop, I'm sailing towards D here to capture it. It's always a good play for destroyers to at least attempt to capture an objective right off the bat of the game, or sail forward and spot someone on the enemy team who's trying to do so. There's a fair amount of smoke in this one, so I want to point out that smoke basically cuts off the line of sight. It acts like a mountain, so for our purposes, that's about as deep as we'll get into it. I'll do a smoke video soon and kind of go over it a little bit more. So those 2 battleships, they were spotted. They're in my vision cone. I've sailed within their blue circles on their map, which we don't have access to, but I'm within their detection point, so they're on my map. Now the one on the right was obstructed by that smoke that the destroyer just put down. So again, keep in mind that smoke operates to cut off the line of sight. So that's why he became unspotted. Now that destroyer left his smoke covered, so he then became spotted to me, and I'm within his blue detection circle. Unless he shot, I didn't notice him shooting. I think he thought he was still within the smoke. Now you see I smoked too. I also sailed past it, I believe. And then just as a tactical play, I would always recommend trying to kill destroyers like this. Anytime a destroyer is near you, you need to get rid of them. That's your #1 priority, is close destroyers. So getting back to the vision, now I'm attempting to sail behind this island, which will cut off the line of sight for all these targets. So between me and the rest of my teammates, we're trying to kill that destroyer. Now you see the detection has changed to a plane. That means that a plane has spotted me instead of a ship. Alright, and now I'm completely undetected. And now sailing forward a little bit, this guy, I'm within his line of sight, so now I'm detected. And you'll see I'll deploy smoke here in just a moment, and that will once again cut off the line of sight. And when the plane's not within range of me, as right now I'm completely undetected, even when firing close range like this. And just a side tip, when ships are sailing like this and you're firing at them, just check the smoke coming out of their smokestacks like that. You can see it's pretty much horizontal or straight up there when we started. Now it's kind of kicked backwards a little bit. That's a good way to determine how fast they're going. So especially far shots, it can be tough to see how far or how fast they're moving. But if there's little to no smoke, That means they're pretty much stopped or barely moving, and then it'll gradually, you know, push further back the faster the ships are going. So that's a good visual cue. So anyway, we took care of that guy. The blue detectable range was small once that smoke was deployed because no ship had a line of sight at me due to the smoke blocking it. So I was able to fire freely on those guys. And then I don't know if I must have sailed out of the smoke or whatever, but once I fired, then that battleship way over there was able to detect me. And again, we're not going to talk about this plane much. I mean, basically when there's planes in the air, they can spot you. The distances are a little bit different than surface ships and stuff like that. But I don't want to overload you with too much information. Sorry, a lot to take in, I feel like. But like I say, it's just hopefully you're understanding these concepts, because as someone who understands the concepts of the vision game, you can utilize that against all opponents for sure, but especially against players who don't understand how the vision works. You can really grab them and strong arm them in situations like that. So what I want to recommend for you to practice is just constantly focus on the vision. Constantly notice, am I detected? If I am detected, who's detecting me? I always figure that out. And the better you get at doing that, the better your game overall will be, for sure. Alright, once you can master that and manipulate it and put yourself into situations where you've evaluated the situation and you see no one can detect me when I fire here because no one has a line of sight, that's a great position. That's a golden position. That's what you're looking for. So this guy, again, we're smoked out here, so able to freely fire on him, and that again is because the line of sight is obstructed both by the smoke, and even if I'd pulled back a little bit behind this island and could fire over it, my teammates are spotting him. So again, because they spot him, he's on my map for sure, and he happens to be within my vision cone. Even if it's obstructed by an island, if he's within that vision cone range, he'll still be on my screen as the red icon. And that makes it a lot easier to shoot at, obviously. Even if he's not on your screen, you can potentially hit him as a... Well, no, I think you'd always be out of range of your vision cone if he was within your weapon range or whatever. But just keep that in mind, you know. You don't necessarily directly have to be spotting him for him to appear on your screen. That's oftentimes a teammate doing that. So that game was a pretty good. It gave us a few vision things to talk about, so that's the reason I picked that one. Again, just focus on it, practice utilizing the vision to your advantage, and honestly, the better you get at that, you'll dramatically increase your skill level in this game. In terms of mechanics, I think this is by far the most helpful one for becoming a good player, is mastering the vision game. So we'll keep talking about it. I'm either do an intermediate level vision game, or I'll probably more likely just bring it up throughout various replays that I post going forward. But we'll see. Either way, we'll talk more about it. So if you like the video, please hit the thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. There'll be plenty more World of Warships coming up. If you have any questions, I'm sure there's a lot that arose during this, feel free to put them in the comments. I'll either directly address you or address them in future videos. And we'll see you guys all later. Alright, peace.